Hi, everybody. So, for those of you who remember on my former channel, the Antinatalism Foreman, I did a video quoting David Benatar and what he said about antinatalism, the misanthropic argument that it is the path to animal liberation. And I talked about how I believe that from reading that book, the path to animal liberation was antinatalism, that the way to liberate animals was to drastically reduce the human population, not necessarily to go vegan. Um, I'm not saying you shouldn't go vegan, but I thought that veganism was an extra step. But the primary way to liberate animals was to drastically reduce the human population. So I just had a discussion with Brother Marcus and Ephilism on Finding Gnosis' channel, and I couldn't remember the quote verbatim. So this is David Benatar's book, Better Never to Advance. So I'm going to go ahead and read it for you all. Although the arguments I have advanced have not been misanthropic, there is a superb misanthropic argument against having children and in favor of human extinction. The argument rests on the indisputable premise that humans cause colossal amounts of suffering, both for humans and for non-human animals. In chapter 3, I provided a brief sketch of the kind of suffering humans inflict on one another. In addition to this, they are the cause of untold suffering to other species. Each year, humans inflict suffering on billions of animals that are reared and killed for food and other commodities or used in scientific research. Then there is the suffering inflicted on those animals whose habitat is destroyed by encroaching humans, the suffering caused to animals by pollution and other environmental degradation, and the gratuitous suffering inflicted out of pure malice. Although there are many non-human species, especially carnivores, there is also cause, also there are other non-human species, especially carnivores, that also cause a lot of suffering. Humans have the unfortunate distinction of being the most destructive and harmful species on Earth. The amount of suffering in the world could be radically reduced if there were no more humans. Even if the misanthropic argument is not taken to this extreme, it can be used to defend at least a radical reduction of the human population. I guess I could continue reading, but that is, yeah, I'll read this last paragraph. Although the end of humanity would greatly reduce the amount of harm, it would not end at all. The remaining sentient beings would continue to suffer, and their coming into existence could still be harmed. This is one of the reasons why the misanthropic argument does not go as far as the arguments I have advanced in this book, arguments that arise not from antipathy towards the human species, but rather from the concern about harms all sentient beings to all sentient beings. Moreover, as resistant as people are to the philanthropic argument, they would be more resistant to the misanthropic one. But the misanthropic argument is not the least incompatible with the philanthropic one. So this is the whole point. I know people got different interpretations of better narrative, and they focused on some points while not focusing on other points, right? But I read this book. I probably read this book 3 times. And I mean, I haven't read it recently, but I know that antinatalism is primarily about ending human suffering, but it also has benefits for animals because, according to David Benatar, humans are the most destructive species. So it is primarily about ending human suffering, but as a tangential benefit, it also relieves animal suffering, right? Because if humans drastically reduce the population for the human species, then we no longer need to rely on factory farming. We no longer need to use animals for medical testing. And so I'm not sure why so many people who have never read Better Never to Have Been are telling me that antinatalism doesn't reap benefits for animals, or they don't understand what those actual benefits are, or they don't understand how if you are an anti-nihilist, but you're not vegan, that you're not actually doing anything to liberate animals. Again, many of you have not read Better Never to Have Been. I'm not sure why you have not read it. You absolutely should read it. I read it. So if you're going to argue with me about what it said, maybe you should inform yourself. But that's why my channel was called the Anti-Nihilist Informant, because I was specifically using David Benatar's arguments. I'm not sure that, I'm sure David Benatar isn't the only philosopher who's the authority on anti-nihilism, but as far as I was concerned, Better Never to Have Been was the Bible when it came to anti-nihilism. So I don't think that anti-nihilism should be relegated to just academic arguments, but I would say that David Benatar's book is the primary source. So unless you're going to negate what his book actually said, yeah, it doesn't mean that you necessarily have to be vegan. Anti-nihilism in and of itself helps towards liberating animals. I don't know how you can be a vegan and then procreate and think that you're actually liberating animals. Humans are the most destructive species on Earth. And I've said it so many times on my Anti-Nihilist Informant channel. I guess I need to pull out that quote, and I need to really drive it in that humans are the most destructive species. You're not going to liberate animals by procreating. I don't know these people who have become anti-nihilists because they think we need the human species to liberate animals. No, you're not going to liberate animals that way. You're actually going to cause far more harm to animals by procreating. The best thing you can do is drastically reduce the human population. This relieves human suffering, and it also relieves animal suffering.